Hello YouTube, it's your girl Dani, and we just have so much to catch up on. But first I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope your Thanksgiving was good. My Thanksgiving was good. But you know how when you have that one family member that used to be the glue of the whole family and they pass away, Thanksgivings are just like never the same anymore. But I still had a good Thanksgiving, like I can't complain. Now in this video, I'm going to cover Joseline's Cabaret reunion for season 4, part 1 and 2. And of course, timestamps will be in the description in case you want to just skip ahead. But first, I just want to say that if you haven't seen the reunion just because you thought the season was boring, well, the reunion was a lot better. The reunion was basically what this whole season should have been. And this time around, I guess the NPC characters read our comments and saw our videos because they absolutely showed out for this reunion, whereas the main girls like Wet Wet and Natural and Yummy, they kind of like laid back a little bit. Then Abby didn't show up, which was such a big disappointment for me. But at least we got to check up on Diamond and Raven, even though Joseline didn't give Raven a chance to speak and Diamond didn't have much to say. It was still nice to see that Diamond is pregnant, but I'll save more of that for later. We're going to get right into this reunion, starting with skipping to around the 3-minute mark. Honestly, save yourself some time and do yourself a favor because that performance from Joseline was absolutely horrific. The song was really bad and I don't understand why nobody told her to perform another song. Like just pick one of any of the songs that you had us listen to this whole season. But whatever that song is, whatever the name of that song is, it was just not it. So I'm going to skip to Group A in the dressing room. There's 3 groups in all. Of course, they're separated by who the producers would have thought would have gotten along. But with Group A, that wasn't the case. So in Group A, we have Spin, Holiday, and Wet Wet. And Wet Wet came wearing the headgear because she's trying to stay ready so that she doesn't have to get ready. But Wet Wet, where are the matching boxing gloves? I just think Wet Wet didn't want to end up like Daisy, but she wasn't trying to fight nobody either. But the real fight happens between Spin and Holiday because apparently Spin has been holding back this whole season the receipts of Holiday coming for her appearance. And like, yeah, Dani isn't the most beautiful girl on the show, but we never came for her on this channel because I just didn't feel like I had to, or like she didn't really do anything to piss me off for me to come after her looks. And I just wasn't expecting that from Holiday either because I had originally thought that she was like very extroverted and just like an overall positive person. But that was before Wet Wet just aired her out for having 3 BBLs and a nose job and whatever the last surgery was. So basically Holiday has had 5 surgeries in total. And I don't know why, but it just always seems like people who have cosmetic surgery forget what they used to look like. Let me find out that Holiday used to look like Roly Poly. And Holiday is still big. She doesn't look that good to me. She still looks like a bear, like Wet Wet said. And Wet Wet is coming for Holiday, of course, because Holiday was also talking about Wet Wet. And I think that Wet Wet is handling the situation better than Spin, because Spin starts talking about how she wants to get surgery when she gets her bag. But I really hope that Spin doesn't get surgery, because if she does, it just wouldn't look right. Like, she would just end up looking exactly like a Wet Wet and her hard titties. So I don't think Spin needs to get surgery. I just feel like she needs to fix her teeth and don't wear that red wig ever again. Like, even this blonde is already looking better on you. Other than that, you're fine just the way that you are. Now, because Spin already said, "When I see you, it's up," to Holiday on social media, I guess she's just trying to keep that same energy now that she's in Holiday's face. Because Holiday here was clearly trying to apologize, but Spin didn't want to hear it for some reason. Plus the fact that Spin already ran to Egypt and Natural and told them what happened. I just feel like Spin kept provoking Holiday to just try to prove herself. And here comes Wet Wet. She recognizes what is happening. And I feel like even though she didn't make it on the Cabaret tour, I feel like Zeus Network needs to offer some kind of producer position to Wet Wet, because once she realizes what's happening, Wet Wet tells the hairdresser to back up. And the face on this makeup artist says it all. Like, this fight was not even planned and nobody even saw it coming. Security had to rush in the room, and Holiday didn't even let Spin finish taking off her shoes before running up on Spin Because how are you going to threaten me and you're not even ready to fight yet? Now, I would have been more disappointed in Holiday had she actually like punched or slapped Spin, but she was just kind of like mushing Spin around in the chair. So Spin is okay. The fight was never going to be fair because all Holiday has to do is sit on Spin and Spin will just be squished. But now Spin is upset because she feels like Holiday snuck her when you 100% provoked the fight and you just wasn't ready. Spin runs over to the room where Group C is at. We're going to talk about Group B in a minute, but Group C is basically the girls who made it onto the tour. So we have Natural, Egypt, Precious, Dani, Yummy, Telove, and Andrea. Now, whoever arranged these little jewels on Dani's body needs to be fired because all I could think about was those motion capture suits that they use for movies. It was such a bad idea. And then by the end of the reunion, like half of them shits popped off anyway. So they weren't even glued right. And then Yummy clearly just rolled out of bed and she's just trying to start some BS about the girls who didn't make it on the tour being jealous of the girls who did make it on the tour, which is just classic Yummy. She always wants somebody to hate on her or to be jealous of her or just, I don't know. She always thinks that somebody's out to get her. And there wasn't even any jealousy between the girls on social media. So she is just speaking like the true narcissist that she is. Like, we get it. You're the best dancer, in my opinion, of the group. But you really need to calm your narcissism down. And if you snoop around in the blogs and on Reddit like I do, you know that Yummy's personality just kicked her off of the tour because she is just so hard to work with. Even though the real reason why she got kicked off hasn't been confirmed, but you can just tell like she just lives in La La Land, like she's delusional. Then also Precious speaks on the drama between her and Holiday. I don't really understand these two because they're not together, but they want to argue and fight like they are together. And this is the one storyline from the season that I never cared about. I still don't care about it because both of you have your own boyfriends and girlfriends in your real life. Like at this point, is it just an ego thing for Precious? Because what does Precious want from Holiday? Is it for Holiday to tell her how much Holiday still loves her and wants to be with her? And I don't understand how your girlfriend, Precious, is still allowing you to sleep with one of your exes on the show. Like, I just don't think that this is real and that either one of them is being honest. And lastly, I want to get on Andrea because her mood during this reunion is completely off. Like, she was one of the loudest ones, but also like one of the happiest ones on the show. But here, she's just so quiet and she's just so angry. And at least she still brought her voodoo doll. And I just love how none of the girls are even bothering her about that anymore. But I really want to know what's bothering Andrea because I can't imagine it's from the whole situation with Group B. So in Group B, we have Lucky, Daisy, Raven, and Diamond. Basically all the girls that Joseline has screwed over. We have a pregnant Diamond. She says that she's having a girl and that Joseline never really kicked her out of the cabaret. She just kind of left because she found out that she was pregnant. I just feel like she's tired of Joseline flip-flopping on her because, I mean, Diamond still auditioned for Baddies pregnant, so I don't think the pregnancy is stopping Diamond from doing anything. Of course, we saw how Joseline slammed Raven onto the concrete, so that's why she left. Daisy's mad, I feel like, because she didn't make it into the cabaret tour, but she says it's because in person, outside of the show, her and Joseline are friends, but on camera, Joseline's always calling Daisy a $2 hoe and just being fake. And then with Lucky, she basically says that Joseline never wants to see the girls do better than her, which I feel like it's a mix of that and the fact that you are Big Lex's friend and you went on another network and did a whole show with her. So yeah, I think all valid reasons to hate Joseline. And I also like that they showed up knowing that they were going to fight, although not fighting Joseline because, you know, Joseline never lets anyone put hands on her, but she doesn't mind putting hands on somebody else. They're going to have to fight the minions instead, which are Dani and Andrea, which are just some of the worst girls that you can pick to fight for you. But we'll talk more about that when we get there. I'm jumping back to Spin now because she just walks in this room all hysterical. She's screaming, she's crying that Holiday attacked her while she was doing hair and makeup, which is such a one-sided story because you provoked her right then and there when you could have just waited to hit the stage. But you can see that Egypt and Natural really love Spin. Egypt starts getting teary-eyed while Spin is telling her what happened and even starts to like shake a little bit like did y'all see that? I think Egypt is crazy. I feel like she really has some anger issues because whenever she gets upset, she's just ready. Like, violence is always her first answer. And as for Spin, I don't know what she's going through. I suspect that she's still dealing with postpartum because she did say her baby is 5 months old. But she is just crying and screaming way too much for something that I thought that she wanted. Like, you wanted to confront Holiday and you did, and she fought you. So I feel like you're upset that she dragged you and messed up your hair and your makeup. But I don't know, you can now be crying and screaming like this just because you lost the fight that you started. And I can imagine probably Spin reading all the comments about her looks while she is dealing with postpartum isn't helping either, because I wanted her to be on the tour so bad. But she even said it herself that while filming the show, she wasn't in the right state of mind, and that's why she didn't address Holiday. And I just still feel like she's not. I feel like she hasn't gotten over her postpartum, and she just needs to be home with her baby, away from social media, and just relax until she starts feeling better. But then Joseline walks into the dressing rooms to check up on the girls, probably because she heard all of the screaming and crying. I love how Spin immediately stops crying and just gets happier. And Joseline is basically asking her, like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to keep fighting? Do you want to talk? And Spin is like, no, I want my 30 seconds. Holiday was just like, whatever she wants, we can do it. I don't care. Joseline takes them outside to fight in the parking lot, which I just hate that they're fighting on the concrete. Like, they just have so many cuts on their elbows and their knees after this fight. It was stupid. I really hated this fight. Holiday is obviously way too big for you, Spin, to try to manhandle her, and her tactic was basically just to tackle Gaia style, if you remember Gaia from last season. I just don't think there was any winner in this fight, and I could have really done without it. I was not entertained at all. At this point, I'm just ready for the reunion to start. So it turns out that Jess Hilarious is the co-host. Y'all might know Jess Hilarious from the Vine days, but I know her from Wild 'N Out and The Breakfast Club. Is the woman funny? I don't really think so, but comedy is subjective. Nonetheless, she still did an amazing job hosting this reunion. I just love when the co-hosts obviously have watched and are fans of the show. So Joseline and Janisha didn't really have much to explain to Jess besides the drama that already happened literally that moment. So after Janisha does her little spiel, Jess comes out and the girls come out. Right off the bat, Andraya comes out. She's still not dressed. She still has her doll. And she still has that same bad attitude from the dressing room. And she even snapped on Jess, which we all know that Jess could have definitely came for Andraya. But Jess kept it cute and she kept it professional. I also want to point out Natural and Egypt's reaction to when Spin and Wet Wet come out. You can see that Egypt is clapping it up for her girl Spin, but then she's just shaking her head no for Wet Wet. Then Joseline, Raven, and Diamond come out to the stage. And Joseline doesn't like that Raven is wearing a hoodie and some shorts and shoes. But Raven is like, why am I going to put in effort to get dressed up when you're just gonna try to fight me, basically? And I don't understand why Joseline is just allowed to kick people off the stage. We needed to talk about what happened between Raven and Joseline. And I blame Janisha because Janisha doesn't have enough of a backbone to tell Joseline to shut up, because at the end of the day, it's what the fans want to see. And you guys already flew this girl out. You already booked her hotel. You already fed her. You already paid for her makeup. Give her a chance to speak. But I guess Joseline was just so scared that Raven was going to try to run up on Joseline. I still don't know why Joseline doesn't fight. And this is why I feel like some people respect Natalie a little bit more than Joseline, because at least Natalie will fight some of the cast. She picks and chooses who she wants to fight, but at least sometimes, every now and then, she'll get down. But Raven is just I don't want to be here anyway. So she has no problem getting up and leaving. Plus, she's going to get paid anyway, so... Good for Raven. She didn't really have to do anything and still got her check. And then when Janisha is asking Diamond about her thoughts, especially relating to how her best friend was treated on the show, Diamond was just Diamond had nothing to say. She looked straight up scared. And I wasn't really expecting any loyalty from Diamond. I feel like Diamond and Raven are still working on their own friendship because they did have a falling out on social media after the show. And honestly, Diamond just has to focus on her baby now. That's her worry. And she also still collected her check at the end of the day without really having to do much. So good for Diamond. Even though Joseline was still saying, oh, you could come back next season, and I'll have a spot for you after you give birth. I feel like Joseline is being so fake in this moment because you can still see there's some kind of hesitancy in her face while she's talking to Diamond. I wish these motherfuckers would put the captions on. But this is Joseline's face while she's talking to Diamond. I think that Joseline isn't popping off on Diamond because she is pregnant, and Joseline does have a soft spot for babies. But as Diamond is leaving and gets dismissed, you can hear her whisper into Joseline's ear, saying, "Sorry, it has to be like this," which would have been nice for you to say while you had the opportunity out loud, Diamond. But whatever. And Joseline says, "Sorry that you have to have a midget for a friend," which Diamond, you can tell she's still working on her friendship with Raven and still loves her. She says, "Don't say that," in defense of Raven. So yeah, I think Diamond and Raven should probably work on their friendship, and they probably don't even need a Zeus network or Joseline. They could probably like film their own stuff and do mommy vlogs and auntie vlogs for Raven and just post that on social media. I feel like you guys already have enough of a following to do that, and just let the sponsorships come in, let the ad revenue come in, and you guys will be just fine. And that's really my advice for all the OGs. Like, I feel like you guys are already past the Cabaret. At this point, just use the exposure that you have and just make your own content. And I don't know what kind of relationship, if there even is any, that Lucky still has with, now that's TV, but take Daisy with you. Start your own show over there. Now, Janisha looks very uncomfortable while she brings Lucky and Daisy out on the stage, but they come out holding hands, and Joseline's first instinct is to throw her drink at Lucky, which gets all over her Hose Mad hoodie. Now, that's not a custom-made hoodie for Lucky. That is the actual brand name for that clothing company. They just kind of bedazzle Hose Mad on all of their clothing. And I think that the girls forgot that Lucky actually has hands. We saw what she did to Blueface Barbie in season 2. So Lucky was ready for Dani, and she put Dani on the floor so fast. And then Andrea, I don't know what the hell she's doing. She's off to the side just throwing water balloons. Like I said, these are not the girls that I want fighting for me. And that's where part 1 ends. Now in part 2, these girls are gonna go for so many rounds. It's ridiculous. But after throwing her water balloons, Andrea is trying to square up from behind the curtain like a damn fool. But security is really worried about Egypt, because now Egypt gets up and Egypt is just trying to get Daisy's wig to give to Dani, because Dani's a dirty bitch and she will wear somebody else's wig. But security snatches up Daisy so fast. They are not going to let Egypt cost them another hospital bill. But then Daisy is yelling in the back that her wig cost $900, which is colored on one side to have the Puerto Rican flag on it. But Daisy, you didn't even have it on for more than 2 seconds. I don't think that the idea was well executed, because we really didn't even get to enjoy it for more than 2 seconds. And then Andrea should have stayed hidden behind that curtain, because Lucky just split her whole face open beside her eyes. Meanwhile, what is Dani doing? She's just screaming and trying to be funny like a dumbass. And I would say kick these 2 girls off the stage, but I don't think Joseline would have stayed on stage if those girls had gotten kicked out. But we finally get some real discourse, some real reunion around like 11 minutes in. Egypt starts confronting Daisy about the song that she put out and all the jabs that she's been taking at Egypt online. But then out of nowhere, Dani just comes with this Kung Fu Panda dropkick. And at this point, this girl really has to be on drugs, because I don't believe that she is this insane and this stupid. Even though it was a good kick and she landed right on Daisy's face. I just don't know how security be letting these girls sneak past them and run past them sometimes. But like, it did kind of happen really fast. Like, Daisy didn't even see it coming. But Dani is going to say that she used to be a ninja before she started prostituting. And I'm just like, you're built like a little boy, Dani. I feel like you would have more success being a ninja than prostituting. But Dani's just really getting out of control, and you can tell Janisha is getting really mad, because you never see that lady ever get up from her seat. So Janisha is trying to calm down these girls and, put her foot on her neck like Joseline told her to. Because up to this point, I feel like Jess has been getting more in the girls' faces and trying to get them to relax, which is really not Jess's job to do. It's more of Janisha's job to do. But, Janisha's biggest criticism is that she's way too soft on these girls, which she is. So I'm happy that Jess isn't scared of these girls, but she does keep getting in the middle of them, and I could have sworn that she was going to get hit. And while it's like round 57 between Andrea, Lucky, and Daisy, did you guys peep that when Daisy said to Andrea that she has to have a mind of her own, Andrea implies that it was Lucky that wrote Daisy's diss track, which Lucky does also make music too, I believe. So Andrea just needs to drop those receipts. And then Daisy's comeback is that like, the girls are only making $500 a show, which, you know, of course I did the math. So the season was 12 episodes long. 500 times 12 is 6,000 for the month that they filmed, because they only filmed for, I think it was even less than a month, probably like 3 weeks, which granted, like Lucky and Daisy are obviously getting paid more than just 500 an episode, but if you can make 6,000 in a month, I don't think that's such a bad thing, because I'll take that shit. And overall, Daisy just kept disappointing me throughout the rest of the reunion, because she still couldn't come up with a reason as to why she inserted herself between Egypt and Telove's business. And also, since Daisy and Egypt did make up after the show, there's still no reason for her to go online and restart the drama all over again. Like, even though the fans are watching it for the first time, if you guys already made up, you don't have to restart the drama. But when it comes to the punch that Egypt gave Daisy, I already said that Egypt really had no reason to hit her like that. So for Egypt to basically admit that she just hits on her girlfriends and then tries to have sex with them afterwards, like that's just like weirdo shit. Like, that's how you can tell that Egypt has been in abusive relationships in the past. She was a victim of domestic violence, but like in the same way she's kind of perpetrating it too. So then they start showing the flashback of the fight between Daisy and Egypt. And I just want to point out how shady Zeus Network is, because they made sure that in every single flashback that they were going to feature Abby in some way. So at this point, Egypt has to leave and Daisy gets sent off the stage by Janisha. And Daisy was a little hesitant to leave because she didn't want to leave Lucky behind to face the two crazies on the other side by herself. Meanwhile, there's a little clip of Joseline watching from backstage with Ballistic and Melissa. So they are there. I just guess that Ballistic isn't allowed on the stage anymore ever since he put his hands on Amber during last season's reunion. But Daisy has to get off stage before Joseline comes in, because you can clearly see that Joseline has way more animosity towards Daisy than Lucky. So Joseline comes back and she tries to kick Lucky off the stage. But at least this time Janisha was not having it, because at the end of the day, Lucky was a fan favorite. I know she was my favorite. But then Dani is not even letting her speak. Like, she just keeps screaming over Lucky. So I feel like Dani could have at least been kicked off the stage as well. But of course, Lucky and Dani just have to go round 163. But this time Yummy is jumping in, even though nobody was talking to that girl. I don't understand why. She's being a follower and she's jumping in now. And then Dani just tears off Lucky's wig, unfortunately. We know she's going to try to wear that one too. And then Lucky just kind of gets escorted off the stage with like no final words or nothing. It's like they were just waiting for Dani to snatch her wig until they took Lucky off the stage. So moving on, Janisha then pivots the attention to Wet Wet, because she has been quiet this entire reunion. They show that video of Wet Wet dressed up as Chung Lee, and she's just putting flyers with Telove's face on it around her neighborhood, I guess, and then calling Telove Little Bill. And of course, this pisses Telove off, because at this point, she at least thought that her and Wet Wet were on good terms. Telove's father also passed away, and Wet Wet had called her to give her condolences. So I don't know why Wet Wet just switched up and did this. I guess it's probably because the episode is finally airing and they see the fans reacting to it, so they feel like they have to react to the fans' reactions. And so Telove lets us know that Wet Wet's real name is LaTasha, which is just so cute. Sometimes I feel like when we try to come up with stage names, our birth name is way better than our stage names. And then Telove also makes fun of Wet Wet's teeth, which Jess, hilarious, absolutely loved. She was like cracking up, even though this whole time she was saying that Wet Wet was her favorite girl from the cast. And I was actually entertained by their back and forth, but Joseline had to cut it short because she was getting bored. But then she decides to move on to Precious and Holiday and their situation, out of all people. Like, this is the one topic that I just hate talking about. And then it's at this point that Precious hands out gifts for everyone. I believe that everybody got vagina flavored potato chips. I don't think I ever want to try those, honestly. But you know, Spin's ass, who's on the down low, she was looking way too excited, way too happy to eat these chips. But she was like, no, I'm not going to open the box. But you could see her face was just lit up. And then Precious gives an extra gift to Holiday. And it was just so funny how Holiday genuinely thought that she was getting a real gift from Precious. But it turns out to be a clown costume, which I don't know. I thought that was kind of corny. I was like, okay, and you know, Precious thought that she ate with that, but then they just started arguing about whether or not Holiday was really chasing after her. Just bullshit. But Precious was really talking like she wanted Holiday to run up on her, so Holiday just kept asking like, are you serious? You want to fight right now? Because we can. Do you want to fight? And Holiday was ready to run up. She started taking off her shoes and everything. And Precious just kept running her mouth like she wasn't really trying to fight. And I guess Joseline got bored of this too, because now she wants to see Precious's vagina and she's talking about squirting in Ballistic's mouth. And I'm just like, okay, Joseline, you interrupted my wet conversation for this. Like, I don't, whatever. And then Holiday has a line where she says something about her being like on a high horse and sniffing coke, or she's so high on her high horse it was like she's sniffing coke or something like that. But did y'all notice Joseline raise her hand and she was like, can I get a sniff? I think Joseline has been clean off of her coke. Like, I think that she's sobered this reunion, because we saw how she was last reunion. Like, she just kept going. She wouldn't stop. Not even like to take a breath. Like, she was insane. So I feel like she's doing a good job in staying sober, but she probably does miss it. Next, we have Ricardo come to the stage with very different energy this time. I mean, clearly he's happy. He probably doesn't have to deal with Joseline and the girls as much now that the season is over and the dances are already choreographed. But you know how on the show he was like the contrarian to Joseline and her antics against Lucky? This time he's actually vouching for Joseline, saying she's not fake, that she's a good person, that they've been working for 15 years together. Like, it's very much more kiss assy this time than him on the show. So I don't know, he probably got that paycheck and he was just like, shit, I could keep doing this. I could keep kissing. I'll kiss ass harder now if I get a bigger paycheck. But then the reunion starts getting weird. Joseline starts crying, getting in her feelings. And she's trying to figure out how is she fake when she provided for Daisy and Lucky's, and I guess Raven and Diamond's livelihood. She fed their mother, their pimp, their father, their grandmother, their kids. Which I get what she's saying, but I think she's forgetting that it's a mutual relationship. So basically, Joseline gave the girls a show. So they would not be on the show without Joseline. But then at the same time, nobody would have watched the show if it wasn't for said girls being entertaining on your show. So it goes both ways, basically. But I guess probably what Joseline should have done was to have the conversation with these girls before the show aired and, you know, tell them basically like, hey, I might have said this and that about you during my confessionals, but don't worry, it's just for TV, it's just for the cameras. I wasn't being serious, you know? I think that would have saved a lot of trouble, and I just don't understand why these grown women at the end of the day just can't have that conversation and air out their grievances, because it shouldn't come to a point where you watch me give birth to my son and then we did this reality TV show together and now it's on site every time we see each other. But that's just my thoughts. The reunion ends with final words from the girls and it's basically just Spin and Wet begging for a job. I feel like Wet definitely should have been on the tour at least as a hostess or a bottle girl or a special guest even. Like, she doesn't even have to be there the whole time or do too much. And Spin, after what I've just seen today, like maybe you shouldn't do the tour. Maybe you should just chill. But of course, it came out already that Spin is taking Yummy's place in the Cabaret tour. And this is like the only benefit I get to doing my videos late, is that I get to mix the tea in with my analysis. But who knows, maybe this is what Spin needs and it'll take her out of her postpartum. I keep up with the girls on the Joseline's Cabaret subreddit, so we'll see how everything plays out. And so the reunion ends with everybody dancing to the Dun Cha Cha. And I love how Jess Hilarious actually knows the steps. Like, I think she was an excellent pick as a co-host. She had a good time with the girls. I don't think the girls from the Cabaret really knew who she was like that, but Jeff definitely knew who they was. And I mean, they still respected her at the end of the day. And she was strict with the girls and stepped in when she needed to, because we all know Janisha wasn't going to do that. Even though Janisha was doing a lot better this reunion than reunions before. But yeah, I'm kind of happy this season is over. Some people on Reddit are already saying that there's not going to be a season 5, or if there is, it's not going to be on Zeus. And next on Zeus anyway, Nick Cannon is getting ready to release his show, which I don't think I'm going to be watching, honestly. And I think Lemmy also tweeted that he's going to post more scripted content on Zeus, which I'm willing to give a try. I don't really watch scripted TV shows, but that really doesn't have anything to do with the TV shows themselves. It's more of just me in the type of stuff that I'm into. I like the real stuff, the educational stuff. But anyways, I'll try to figure out what else I'm going to cover, what other TV show I'm going to cover now that I'm done with Joseline. I do owe you a Baddies East episode 9 and 10. My notes are already written for it. I just have to record it. If I'm not too busy, it should be coming out either Monday or Tuesday. But don't quote me on that, because you know how I am. So I will see you in that video. So take care of yourself until next time. Bye.